There are moments when loneliness doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't always come with silence or empty rooms. Sometimes it appears while you're surrounded by people, in conversations that sound normal, in rooms filled with voices, in days that look full from the outside. You laugh at the right moments. You reply when spoken to. You scroll, you work, you move forward. And yet somewhere underneath it all, there's a quiet sense of distance. Not from others, but from being truly seen. Loneliness isn't always about being alone. It's about feeling unreached. And that's what makes it so confusing. Because if loneliness were simply the absence of people, it would be easy to fix. But it isn't. Loneliness is the absence of connection, and the human mind is far more sensitive to that than we realize. Tonight, we're going to explore why humans feel alone, even in a connected world. Why this feeling has followed us for thousands of years, and why loneliness isn't a flaw in you, but a signal shaped by evolution, memory, and modern life. This is not a story about sadness. It's a story about the space between people and what happens when that space grows too wide. Loneliness and isolation are often treated as the same thing, but the brain doesn't experience them equally. Isolation is physical. Loneliness is psychological. You can live alone and feel deeply connected. And you can live among others and feel invisible. Neuroscience shows that loneliness activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. The mind treats disconnection as a threat because, for most of human history, it was one. Early humans did not survive alone. Belonging wasn't emotional comfort, it was survival. If you were separated from the group, you were exposed to hunger, predators, and danger. So the brain evolved a warning system. Loneliness, not as punishment, but as protection. It was meant to pull us back toward others. But here's the problem. The modern world removed physical danger without removing the ancient alarm. Today, we rarely face survival threats from being alone. But the brain still reacts as if connection equals safety. And when connection feels missing, even subtly, the alarm activates anyway. That's why loneliness doesn't require isolation. It only requires the perception of distance. And perception is powerful. The human brain is always scanning, not for danger, but for signals of belonging. Who notices us? Who responds? Who remembers us? This constant social monitoring is part of the brain's default mode network, the same system that activates when the mind wanders. When you replay conversations, when you imagine what you should have said, when you wonder how others see you, loneliness often begins there, not in silence, but in thought. The brain doesn't need evidence to feel disconnected. It only needs uncertainty, a delayed reply, a missed invitation, a subtle shift in tone. The mind fills the gap with stories. And most of those stories are unkind. Because the brain is not designed for accuracy, it is designed for caution. If connection once meant survival, then the brain assumes distance might mean danger. So it over-interprets. And loneliness grows, not from reality, but from imagined disconnection. We've never been more connected. Messages travel instantly. Faces appear on screens at any hour. Voices reach across continents. And yet, loneliness has increased. Why? Because connection is no longer scarce, but shallow. The brain evolved for depth, not volume. A tribe of 30 people, shared rituals, repeated faces, familiar voices. Today, we interact with hundreds, but rarely deeply. The mind can't process that many social signals meaningfully, so it stops trying. And instead of closeness, we get noise. Loneliness isn't caused by lack of interaction. It's caused by lack of attunement, being heard, being understood, being mirrored. When interactions stay surface level, the brain doesn't register safety, and loneliness remains. Loneliness has a stigma. We're taught that feeling alone means something is wrong with us, so we hide it. We become pleasant, capable, independent. But loneliness doesn't disappear when ignored. It turns inward. It becomes self-doubt, overthinking, emotional distance. The mind assumes, if I feel unseen, it must be because I am unworthy of being seen. And that belief quietly reshapes identity. Loneliness doesn't just hurt, it changes how we interpret ourselves. When loneliness lasts too long, the brain adapts. It stops reaching, because reaching and being disappointed is painful. So it protects itself by withdrawing, not physically, but emotionally. Loneliness becomes familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it hurts. This is how loneliness turns from a signal into a state. Loneliness is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something matters. It means your mind still reaches outward, still notices distance, still searches for connection in a world that rarely slows down enough to offer it. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of being understood. And that feeling didn't come from weakness. It came from evolution. The same mind that learned to bond, to trust, to belong, is the mind that now feels the ache when connection feels thin. Loneliness is not a verdict on your worth. It is a message from a social brain built for depth in a shallow age. You don't escape loneliness by forcing yourself to be louder, busier, or more impressive. You ease it by allowing yourself to be real, even when that feels uncomfortable. Because connection doesn't begin with being seen by everyone. It begins with being seen by someone, including yourself. This is Originify, where we undiscover the hidden forces shaping everyday life and uncover the quiet truths behind what it means to be human. And sometimes, the most human thing of all is realizing that feeling alone means you were never meant to be.